the last trip to New York was in miserable weather and raining hard. So let's reset this New York City trip meter. And this time we're headed for Wethersfield, Connecticut. 2 hours, 4 minutes, 106 miles, right into Manhattan. And 41% is the estimated arrival time. I didn't actually charge the battery. I'm at 83% leaving home here, or near home here. Off we go. I'm gonna cut over to time lapse now. But anyhow, should be a pleasant, mostly automated drive up the, or down the Merritt Parkway, Route 5 and 15 through Connecticut. Okay, a few things I'm going to point out here. One, if we look at the HVAC system, we'll see that if I touch the rear, it says rear fan on. That means that the cat in the center rear seat is enough of a weight to keep the HVAC on in the back, keeping him comfortable. Also, it's 74 degrees. That's a 52-degree rise since my drive just a week ago in heavy snow. So it's that wild time of year, March in Connecticut. And that's just the way it goes. But that's also meant the battery pack is now at 82.4 Fahrenheit. I don't know if you can see that too well. But yeah, we have a lot going in our favor to get a nice, accurate energy graph on this trip. In fact, we're exceeding it. All right, so the little gray line is what's expected, but the garage was at like 50 Fahrenheit. We go outdoors and it's 75, and everything's just warming up nicely. So the range prediction should be quite accurate, and we don't have any sloppy, mushy, wet snow on the road, and we're a little slower on this Merritt Parkway. So all those factors will add up to a hopefully pleasant, simple journey into Manhattan, but it's getting towards rush hour, so who the heck knows. What else to point out here? Well, we can look at the trip together and see that New York City now, 250 versus, what was it, 330 on the last trip? So huge improvement since last Sunday. Right now it's Friday, so 5 days ago. Driving into Manhattan, then into JFK Airport, and then back to Connecticut. That was much poorer range, but it was also in the low 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, 50-something degrees less than today. So there you go. That's just how it goes with an electric car. The range is quite a bit better in good weather. And that's true with gas cars too, but not quite to the extent it's true with electric cars. You will see Autopilot, the blue line, solid blue line here on a lot of the trip. It's going pretty slow here because it sees another car about to accelerate, creeping forward, and it's decided to proceed. Now, I should have gotten to the left lane there, I normally do, but there's a bunch of cars around me. You're not seeing them behind me, but there's cars right here, so he wasn't going to go anyway. Anyhow, that's one of the things you want to do on this road, or any road like it, with limited on-ramps. You really want to get to the left lane whenever there's people waiting to get on the road. And you'll see me do that. Alright, it's over an hour later. The cat's getting a little impatient. We've got 3:23 arrival time at 48% battery, which is high. The temperature is freakishly high for March 18th of 2022, and it's 70 Fahrenheit out there. And this bridge brings us into the island of Manhattan, known as New York City. Well, one of the 5 boroughs, but anyhow, yeah, this trip's gone well. There's been some traffic. I've kept my speed probably below 60 most of the trip, so those are all ideal circumstances for a ridiculously good battery range. 230 watt-hours per mile is insanely efficient. I'm going to end up with enough battery probably to actually get all the way home. 17 minutes left, but a mere 7.6 miles. So this last part is going to be slow. You're about to see the beautiful sight of the George Washington Bridge and the Hudson River. And actually a bit of that summer haze. It's weird for March, right? You can kind of see the blue light to the distant bridge there off to the right. Still a pretty sight. And let me change my follow distance here. So we've got the car with the 2 blue lines. That means let's just stay put in this lane. I don't want the car doing auto lane change magic right now. I just want to pay attention to lane keeping. And the burden this took off of me. If you look at that time lapse, you'll see a lot of the trip was done in autopilot mode. The car doing the driving, the acceleration, the braking, and the lane keeping, the lane centering. So it's really good at that. Looking at the water to our right, the Hudson River, you can actually see a mist over the water. The other observations would be, well, very minimal paint on the Route 9 along the Hudson River here. You can see there's a little bit of white paint, but the car is just solid, staying rock solid lane centering here. It's really good at that, even when you can barely tell where the lane markings are. Even in heavy rain on this road I've been on at night. 50% battery. Part of what happened was the temperature warmed up the whole trip, and I think the battery got up to like 88 Fahrenheit at one point. It was pretty interesting to see the battery climb about 10 Fahrenheit from 78 all the way to 88 as I just drove. And then finally, under service, at these nice low speeds, you'll see my tires got quite a bit warmer. Interesting, that's the difference between the front and the rear. They were less than 1 PSI different yesterday. They were also only 41 PSI in 23 degrees Fahrenheit a week ago, driving into Boston and New York. So this is that time of year where it's really nice to have cross climate plus tires on there that are snow peak rated. They can handle cold weather and keep good traction, but they can also handle warm weather like today without having to change my tires.
Try to stay on New York 9A South.
So that's just something to point out that is really nice when I don't drive on snowpack that often, to not have dedicated snow tires, but instead have year-round tires that have the 3 mountain peak snow rating for exactly a circumstance like this. So I'm here in Manhattan, and I'm looking for the drive home right in rush hour. This is going to be brutal. It's tight. Wow. You're about to see a little bit of city street autopilot. In other words, the full self-driving beta in Manhattan. Okay, different on-ramp there. Yeah, so I'll give Autopilot another chance to do its magic here. And it should be fun to see the visualizations. So here we go. I'm not someone who waits to see what'll happen, right? If I don't like the way it's doing what it's doing, I just immediately take over. And it just takes a gentle pressure on the wheel. It's no big deal to overpower the motorized steering wheel and just take over. The other thing you'll see me do is tap up in the stalk to disengage Autopilot. In case I don't like what it's doing, that disengages all speed, braking, acceleration, and turning. All by just tapping up with a gentle tone that confirms that everything's disengaged. That's even slicker or smoother on passengers than, say, the tapping the brake. But I'm the only one in the car today. Okay, here we go. Green light coming soon. Let's see how we do. Only 2 more blocks until we're on a super congested highway where Autopilot's going to take a lot of the stress off of me. Handling the stop and go miserable traffic. Watching for pedestrians, watching for doors swinging open.
Now turn right onto West End Avenue.
Hugging it kind of tight to this truck, but we're okay. Nicely done, but pausing way too much, so I hit the accelerator. This is not a lane. Let's get out of there. Good. It handled it. Okay, a little weird that it dumped me in that not really a lane, but not a big deal because it corrected itself. And that's what it usually does. It tries to stay in the lane you're in and then changes lanes after an intersection. It doesn't just swing wide an intersection and jump over a lane. That's technically illegal. And that's something you're supposed to do. Okay, green light. Nobody behind me. But I didn't have to goose the accelerator. It accelerated beautifully. Very nice. Perfect. Okay, pothole that I would have avoided, but we're going at such a low speed. No big deal. Parked car and a pedestrian we got to avoid. And it's watching him. You can see the path is to the left. So that's why that little blue line is handy. I can see what the car's planning on doing once it resumes driving. Pedestrian crosswalk's on, but a cop is waving us on with a red light. That's odd. So my car doesn't want to go. And he's waving to me. My goodness. My car doesn't know about a policeman waving. This is really weird. I'd say that's a corner case when you have a cop waving you through a left red arrow. And now I'm right in the middle of a crosswalk that he told me to get in front of. And now he's asking us to go. So I'm gently pressing the accelerator to go through a red arrow. I don't like the path it's following. I don't want to confuse the cop, so he took over. Rebel scooter on our right. I have no idea what he just said. I think it was polite. I think I followed what he wanted me to do. Alright. That's New York. Car in front of me has a blinker on. I'm overriding, putting my right blinker on and getting in this lane. Now I'm much better situated to resume autopilot. Okay, so we have just one more block until highway, and then it's going to go into, I think, highway mode, or it might stay in this, city street mode. I don't really know. Let's see how it goes. Foot is hovering over the brake, as it should.
In 500 feet, stay straight to take the New York 9A ramp.
Car coming up on the left, didn't like how my car was jerking to the left, so I took over. Re-engage. Jerking to the left just as the car's passing me is not good, so I just reported that. And I just took over yet again. This car is really messing things up. He's backing up. It's not good. Alright. Getting the heck away from him.
Now stay straight to take the New York 9A ramp.
So yeah, city streets are just corner case after corner case. It's just nutty stuff, right? You've got that guy backing up on a road he should not be backing up on. Alright, so what mode are we in now? We are no longer in the super colorful mode. We're on the highway mode. So the rest of it's just stop and go traffic, which the car is great at. Beautiful day for some takeout and a stop for coffee and Micro Center. I'm going to give you some routing tips here. So I'm heading home to Wethersfield, Connecticut from here in Yonkers, New York. It's a Friday night, there's some traffic, but it's calculating my route. So we're going to arrive at 13%, right? So how do I get it to go through this direction, this city instead? Route 84. Well, Tesla doesn't really have an easy way to pick one of multiple routes, unfortunately. And when you zoom in on a highway, an interstate like this, you can zoom all the way in, pitch to zoom, touch it, and it won't work. It just shows something near it. So the trick there is just to pick a near off ramp or something. Something that gets you on your way to where you're trying to go. And let's try, well, I want to go up I-684 to 84, and I'm looking for a simple on-ramp. Here we go, Brewster Rest Area. So there's my workaround. I've got now have a landmark and I can add. So now I'm going to get the desired result. I'm going to take 84, which has a little less traffic. When I check on Google Maps, this route is a little better at this moment in time. And let's see what it comes up with for state of charge when I arrive at home. And there you have it, 9%. So we're still good to go. Don't even need to supercharge. Tip here would be, how do you get the outside, the wide angle view? You tap anywhere on the map, and then you tap here, and you tap there again, and it zooms out, and now you got a nice view of the whole route to my next stop. Notice it's blue is the first leg of the journey, and then gray is the second leg of the journey. So when we get to that Brewster Rest Area and pass it, it'll just automatically turn blue for the rest of the route. But the nice thing is you get your time and the time you'll arrive and your battery percentage all up front before I even leave this parking lot. Now if I wanted to, let's say I needed to supercharge, or maybe I like some pizza on the way. Well, Waterbury has a supercharger here, and you can see it says Waterbury Supercharger. And what's the facilities near it? Click the little fork and knife, and you'll see Frank Pepe is right in the parking lot. It's a pretty awesome spot. So I could always add that to the route, and it'll handle, preconditioning if needed of the battery and so forth, and charge a little quicker. Let's say if I was continuing onward. But since I'm going to arrive home around 10%, and it's 73 degrees, so the weather is warm, the battery pack's all warmed up, I've been driving a lot today already, I'm pretty darn likely for this trip meter to be accurate. Now it only shows 29% because that's showing my first destination, not my end point. But okay, so now what happens when I don't want to stop for pizza? Just cancel, close that, still good to go. My route is still all set. Ready for me to head out. One more tip, in case you're not used to the new V11 interface, if you go to settings, that's where you get your navigation on and off. You can also say voice navigation mute. It'll mute that as you're driving. Voice navigation unmute. That's handy when you're solo pilot driving like me today with no passenger. Okay, just recording a little video as we're getting within a mile or two of our Brewster Rest Area. Now this is a rest stop. I don't actually plan on stopping at.
Take the Interstate 684 exit.
This is just a waypoint, a workaround to get the navigation system in a Tesla to, add a waypoint for a spot that's just off the highway. So anyhow, I want to see what happens. I'm not actually getting off that exit, so I'm going to be slightly away from that waypoint, a couple hundred feet. And we'll see if the blue line that I'm on continues up and past. In other words, this is automatically, kind of processed as if I stopped at that waypoint that I'm going to blow right past. So we'll see momentarily here. Things are going well as far as range estimates. This is going to change too to get to my final destination. The other thing you'll notice is it doesn't say, let's see. Yeah, we go to the overall route here. We can't actually see what my miles till my destination is right now either. So it's just the way it goes. All right, now we want to turn off taking the exit automatically. And we're just blowing right past it. And here we go. Let's see if the blue line extends itself past the gray, into the gray area. And it worked. No, it didn't. All right, it has me getting off the next exit to double back and go to that rest stop. So that wasn't the smoothest. Yeah, that's awkward. So I'm just gonna, let's see, edit the route, edit the trip, and just get rid of that rest area. Now we're done, heading on to Wethersfield, Connecticut. So a little goofy. These are the kind of things you deal with when you're the solo pilot, when you have no co-pilot to kind of do navigation. you want to think about this stuff before you set out, if possible.
84 north for 2.2 miles.
I'm really sorry I left the voice on. Voice navigation, mute. There you go. So GPS lady will now be quiet. So now we see I drove home at 8:30 p.m. It's 62 miles. Doing a great job slowing for the exit. Feels very human-like. Smoothness and lane centering. Follow distance at 7. But I am going to want to change the view to the wide angle view on a long road trip like this, where now I just stay on the highway all the way till just a few miles from home. I don't need the voice talking to me, and frankly, because the modest speeds I'm going, I want to just stay in the right lane. It's going to be 2 lanes the rest of the way pretty much. So, and I'm going to tap here to bring up this menu to change the compass to the overall view, right there, wide angle view. And that's where I tend to leave it. Then I scroll down like this and just kind of let her be, showing 8% when I arrive at my destination. That's a nice workaround. Forget this number up here, or forget if it says the number of miles. Just forget all that. You don't have to go into here either to see, oh, I'm going to arrive at home at 8%. So just a little information here about range calculations. So now I'm saying 7%, and 7% at the arrival. I think it said 9% when I set out, but that was also about 9 degrees warmer outside in the mid 70s when I left Yonkers, New York, stopping for a bite to eat. So the point is, the range calculation for trips could be made better, and here's what Fred Lambert on the recent Electric podcast said.
He found something more interesting, where Tesla is now accounting for crosswinds, headwinds, air density, and humidity in the energy consumption calculation.
So that was Green the Only on Twitter, reporting that. So yeah, that could be interesting. I think temperature belongs in there too, right? If you're heading into a cold front and your GPS is set to, I don't know, 100 mile or 200 mile trip where it's going to be 40 degrees less than where you're leaving, yeah, you could actually do a little better range estimate there as well. So yeah, I'm probably arriving with only 2% off, and of course I could end up driving a lot faster or a lot slower, so that number can change. But today it's been pretty predictable, and no big deal. But yeah, going down to New York came out way ahead. I think 8% higher than what I thought it was going to be, but it's because there was a lot of traffic and I ended up slower. And then going back home, it looks like I'm coming up 2% short. So again, some companies have a good reputation for really accurate range prediction, and now it looks like Tesla's getting on board with using some more data from the real world to boost the accuracy there. So that'll be a welcome change, especially in the middle of winter when you're really trying to figure out, do I need to stop to not endanger my family in case something happens and I'm only going to arrive at 4%. You don't want that to be, 6% off as you're driving in a snowstorm like I was doing just 5 days ago. Hey, I'm in New Britain, Connecticut, and I'm a mere 13 minutes and 9 miles from home. Do I get nervous when I'm under 10%, like, now, 9% with yellow showing? Not at all. The car is earned my trust. There's no surprises. I'm at 55,000 miles in 3 years and 3 months, roughly. And you get a sense of if your range is, changing significantly because sudden headwinds or nasty, slushy snow. This is not one of those days, right? There's basically no wind out, but again, like I said earlier, the calculations do need to be accurate, and if they can be even more accurate in the future, I think there'll be less range anxiety, and that was the point Fred was trying to make on electric there, that he did make, and that is, if your range calculations are accurate, range anxiety goes away. And yeah, as I sat in a parking lot, driving as a solo pilot tonight, setting up my trip, the route home, and that's when it should give me the exact percent I'm going to arrive at home based on, well, a lot of things. My average speed, the temperature outside, the wind direction, the air density, all that stuff, hills, altitude, which they already do use, as my understanding. Anyhow, all those factors should be at play to give you a nice accurate calculation. So here we come up on New Britain here, where I'm at 8%. I'm going to point out that it's saying I'll arrive at my house at 7%, only 1% more to go. For and I'm going up a hill too. That's interesting. I'll also say this, that I don't leave the car in a discharged state overnight. That's a bad idea. So let's say I was on a business trip going to a hotel. Bad idea. You want to charge while the battery's warm, and here you'll see I'm at 97.7. So my car would charge super fast at a supercharger right now. That's a better way to handle things, would be go to supercharger, then go to your hotel with well above 20% so that your Sentry mode can run all night. And you'll lose on a cold night something like almost 1 mile of range, sorry, 1% of battery per hour, something like that. I haven't traveled overnight lately in the last year, so I'm forgetting. But anyhow, so yeah, just some tips there. You don't want to leave your battery at a low charge state at the end of a long trip like this, because it's not really good for the battery to stay at something under 10% all night. You want to keep the battery somewhere between like 50 and 80%, or even 90, or most days. Nice little view of the New Britain, Connecticut bridge there, with a bee theme. Alright, car's going to veer to the left here. Should say left of the fork. There we go. Very smoothly done, by the way. Found a slot. We have one more lane change. Nice. So the car did do a good job positioning itself to get off in this exit that's coming up in a mile. I like that. Any enhancement to the accuracy would be useful. Okay, here comes our exit. Blinker on. Gently enters the right-hand lane. Very nicely done. Brings down my speed. Did bring on my taillights. I could have done that with regen if it was a little smoother. And a little earlier on the letting off the accelerator, but not bad. And staying to the right, and it's going to put on blinker soon and take a right on red and a right on green. So soon, or already, you see the big colorful looking display there, and now we're just going straight the rest of the way home, so I'll make this big. Ooh, that's a little slow. It's alright. Okay, it's just keeping a pretty long follow distance. If I go over here, we're going to assume my destination is now 6%, right? So we're falling a little short. Now the temperatures are going down, maybe some wind kicked up, I don't really know. But yeah, we ended up dipping a little on this trip, so we're probably going to end up at 3% less than originally predicted from when I last stopped, I think 90 miles ago in Yonkers, New York. So it's possible, because my traffic was so lousy going into New York, and my average speed probably, I don't know, 40 or something, 45 maybe. Maybe decided the running average is, oh, I'm going to look at this person's driving for the last 3 or 4 hours and say, yeah, he's probably going to drive about that speed the way coming back, because there's, I don't know how it decides that. And that could be where it was, its range estimate was a little off. But I think you're getting the sense of how it's so complicated for any EV maker to precisely calculate how much range you have left for a given battery charge state, right? It is a complicated thing. All right, back to time lapse here. As I pull into my garage here. Pulling into my messy garage with 6%. 99.5 Fahrenheit on the battery. This warns me the battery's low, and it's saying you should probably charge. So I can go ahead and do that. Plug it in my wall connector, which is set to 40 amps. And that's it for this adventure today. Actually, I don't need to charge to 90% tomorrow. I'm just going to go to 80. You can also show the charging on this screen here. Little animation you got. And for some reason it goes to 39 amps. That's been a bug on the UI here. There, now we're getting the full 40 amps of speed here. You can see that here. And then here a few seconds later. 6%. So yeah, all set. That's it. 231 volts. Things looking good. Thank you so much for watching. For joining me at ticketrar.com, please consider a thumbs up or subscribing. All of that is greatly appreciated. Feel free to leave comments as well. All right, bye for now.